Welcome to California Kaburlo. Today, we are on our second episode of the series Leading Folsom with Vision and Heart. In today's conversation, we will dive deep into emotional intelligence. If you're someone looking to upscale your career or someone looking to strengthen your relationships, this episode is for you. So stick around, hit that subscribe button, and let's dive in. Welcome to my show, Jack.
Thank you for having me again.
We all know that you're an emotional intelligence expert. So, can you please tell us what emotional intelligence is?
Sure. Emotional intelligence is defined as one's ability to identify and manage their emotions, as well as identify and manage others' emotions as well.
Mhm.
So it is not just about managing our emotions, but it's also responsibility is on other people's emotions.
Okay.
The best way I can give an example is that if you're driving and then you want to merge onto the freeway,
Mhm.
then when you just get onto the freeway, then it is your responsibility and also the people coming behind you are both responsible for safe merger,
Right.
right? So it's the same thing, if I'm talking to you, I need to know what my emotions are and how to manage it. Plus, I also need to be able to identify your emotions and then manage your emotions as well. So
Oh,
it works both ways.
that's a great explanation, Jack. So, how do you test a person's emotional intelligence?
Emotional intelligence of a person can be tested based on a series of questions
Mhm.
that one can take.
Okay.
Emotional intelligence talks about four different areas.
Mhm.
One is about self awareness.
Mhm.
Second area is called self management. And then the third area is called the social awareness. And then the fourth is called the relationship management.
Okay.
There are a series of questions that are in the survey and the tests for each of these areas one can take and rate themselves and where they think they are in terms of numerical values.
Mhm.
You can everything from I always do this to I never do this type of a scale. And once you take those tests and then at the end of the test you'll get a number. It
Mhm.
says that okay, your number is 56, and then there is a correlated response to that number, which is 56, says you may need to work a little bit on self management. You may need to a little bit work on managing your emotions or understanding the social side of things. So there is a proven scientific test that
Mhm.
one can take to understand what their emotional quotient is.
Okay. So, don't you think that a person shows different level of emotional intelligence based on the circumstances he's in, and also based on people that are involved in the situation?
Yes. So you're talking about something called we talk about situational leadership. It's the
Okay.
same thing, applies to the immediate excuse to anybody is that hey, I was stressed or I was
Mhm.
not in the mood, and that's why I said something to
Mhm.
somebody and that may hurt other person. However, the emotional intelligence is talking about being consistent.
Okay.
Being consistent, being aware of your emotions all the time,
Mhm.
not under different situations. Any
Right.
given situation, I need to be aware of my own emotions, and that's the beauty of the emotional intelligence is all about understanding ourselves.
Mhm.
So that even in any different situation, a stressful situation or a joyful situation or even a depressing situations, we remain calm and consistent across. So that's
Mhm.
what we want to achieve as part of becoming an emotionally intelligent person.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification, Jack.
Okay,
And why do you think it's essential for leadership?
good question. So it's not only for leadership, but it is extremely essential for everyone. It is
Mhm.
essential for anyone who has a brain and who wants to live in a society. I
Okay.
would put it that way. Now, specific to the leadership, and if you look at, I call anyone a leader. So, what is their job, right? So, their job is to influence others.
Mhm.
Their job is to create a vision for where they're going so that they can take people with them, right? If you put this into context with an organization, a CEO or a president of the company is the leader who creates the vision for that organization. Like Steve Jobs is a leader for Apple, and he created a vision, and he knew where exactly he wants to take Apple as a company, right? So, as far as the leaders are concerned, they are not there just to drive results for the organization. So, they're there to influence people. They're there to make sure that people are trustworthy at the same time, but they also have a inspiring story to tell, right? And at any given situation, any leader, they have to go through multiple levels of situations. But sometimes, as I talked about, the stock market falls, the stock prices goes down, for example, and then they are in a situation of too much stress on the company, and people are worried about it, and then they need to be able to understand and respond accordingly, right? So every given situation, so these leaders are there to build strong relationships. So when they build strong relationships, they can express and show some empathy and compassion towards it. And they also need to be able to make changes and lead changes. As they make changes, nobody likes it, right? And then how do you manage that, and how do you communicate that? And then the communication part is also extremely important, is that if people as leaders, we're there to communicate, and then we need to communicate effectively and with compassion, right? So as a leader, if we are expected to do these things, then the emotional intelligence is the beginning, is the start, right? If you are an emotionally intelligent person, then you can manage these expectations as a leader much, much better than a person who has not been good in having an emotional intelligence.
I strongly agree with you, Jack. I love the way you mention the role of empathy in leadership. And emotional intelligence is not only about our feelings, it's about other person feelings and also building the trust, right?
Yes.
And can you suggest few simple ways we can develop EI in our daily lives?
Sure. Without making this 35 minutes class, I can talk about a few things. One, the most important thing is that as day goes by, it is a good idea to pause and reflect. Right. So let's say you get up in the morning, you do all your chores, you go to work, you come back, and before you go to bed, so just reflect on the whole day, and then think about all the incidents that happened. Think about everything, the people that you met, the conversation that you had, and then just remind yourself of what kind of emotions you are experiencing. Were you joy? Were you sad? Were you angry at something? Were you disgusted? All of these things will help build that self awareness. And it's not going to happen over a period of 1 day or 2 days. Once we start doing this routinely, and over a period of months, then automatically brain will start recognizing these emotions that you feel real time. So when we pause and reflect, we are going what I call historical. It means we're looking backwards and then understanding our own emotional state in the past. What we are trying to achieve is real time understanding our emotions as we speak. Okay. As we are in the situation, we want to be able to understand that, right? So there is no point in saying that, I should not have told Lakshmi something like this yesterday. That means it's already 24 hours past. There's nothing I can do to undo that. Right. So before I say anything to you, I should probably think about it first. Okay. If I say this, what is going to make, how it's going to make you feel, how are you probably going to react, and is it going to be in positive or negative emotional reactions and impact on that. Right? So pause and reflect. And there are some overachievers. So what they can do is journal it. Okay. Just write it down. Right. Some people has got better memory. They can think about it and then go to bed, and next day they can get up and still remember what happened. But some people wants to write it down, and then maybe once a week you look at your journal and see, every day you've done this. I was in this situation. and this is how I responded or how I reacted. After a week or two, you can really see what's the trigger for your emotions.
Okay.
You'll start identifying those triggers because your own past week or two's experience right there, which is extremely important. The second thing I always recommend is active listening. Okay. So start developing these skills called active listening. That means when someone is speaking, if you're speaking, that is my job is to remove everything in my brain, right? And then just listen to what you're saying. Okay. If you're talking to me, then I shouldn't be thinking about, okay, where I'm going for dinner tonight, or what I'm going to have food, what I'm going to do tomorrow. I should not have done this yesterday, right? If I'm thinking about all of these things while you're speaking to me, I'm not really listening to you, right? Your words are coming to my ears, but it just becomes just the words. It is not getting into my brain. So the active listening is involves hearing, which is getting into our ears, and then we want to be able to organize those words in the brain. And then we want to be able to interpret what those words mean, right? And then we want to be able to acknowledge that, oh, is this what you said, right? So this is a whole process that works. And if you're not actively listening, none of this process is running in the brain. Only first process runs is hearing. So a lot of people say, yeah, I hear you. Okay, I don't want you to hear me, but I want you to listen. That means I want you to understand what I am saying, make sense of what it is, and organize your thoughts ready, and then come back to me with the proper thing. Right? This is what is extremely important is when we build these active listening skills, then we start to develop empathy. Okay? So because his empathy is not something I can go to the store and buy and then put it on myself, right? So by doing the active listening is when we can build this empathy. The third and most important thing I talk about in any relationship is that do not react.
Okay.
Okay. So do not react to any situation, but always respond.
Okay.
Okay. So the reaction is always tied to the emotions. Okay. When we react, our emotion takes control. Okay. But when we respond, we are focusing on what is this person is saying, what this person is saying, not who is saying it. But when we are reacting to it, oh, she doesn't like me, that's why she's saying it. That becomes like she becomes more important in my thought process than what you are telling me. Right? So there is a difference in that reaction and the response. So reaction usually happens instantaneously when you hear somebody say something, but you just calm down, just listen, and then process what that person is saying. Then you respond back and say, hey, are you saying this? Okay. Just to confirm. And right. When you do that, the two things can happen is that that person may say, yeah, that's what I said, or, oh, I didn't mean to say that, I meant to say this. Okay. So you're giving the other person an opportunity to change what they said because I did not understand exactly what they meant to say. Right. So right. This is where we need to start building these type of relationships where instead of reacting, so we start responding, basically. So that's the three things I'd say. You pause and reflect. Historically, know everything. Then you actively listen and practice active listening skills. And once you are actively listening, I would say don't react and
just respond. Okay.
Respond. But people should recognize the fact that when we decide to not react, rather respond, there is going to be a pause. Okay. So other person needs to know that this person is thinking and this person is not reacting right away, but this point is going to have a respond, right? Sometimes you may say, hey, can I get 5 minutes? I can get back to you. Or I don't know the answer, but I'll call you back, right? Or, hey, can I take a short break and can I get some water? So do whatever you can to buy that time. And once we buy the time, the brain will figure out what to do instead of we immediately reacting to some situation. So those are the three things I would say.
Those were really helpful tips, Jack. So taking a moment to pause and reflect is going to make a big difference.
Yes.
So before we wrap up, Can you share any personal story where emotional intelligence gave you lead in a challenge, especially professional front and personal front?
So yeah, Lakshmi, that's a great question. I think it's important for all of us to understand how EI is really helping professionally as well as on a personal level. Let me address the professional level with my experience of 35 years working for corporates, working for startups, working for government and private, working in two different countries. So when we work in an organization, especially the management and the leadership, we always hear them talk about, oh, they're having an open door policy. So what it really means is that they are willing to talk to the staff, they're willing to talk to the employees if the employees have any concerns or questions, and if they have any tough conversation the employees needs to have. The having that open door policy in terms of the organization is extremely important. But what I have discovered is that if I am the manager sitting inside the room with the door open, and then there are 100 people working in the same building for my team, the question is not in my mind is whether the door is open or closed. The question is that the people on the other side of the door, do they have the courage to come through that door to me with their question? Okay, I can say, yeah, you come to me, I can answer all your questions, but if they don't have the courage to come through that door, then the open door policy is of no use, right? So I always say that if I focus as a leader on building courage with my team and building trust and relationships with my team, even though I sit inside the room and my door is locked, they will break the door and come inside.
Right.
And I don't have to say I have an open door policy because they're concerned, they're committed, and they're dedicated, and they want to come to me, right? Now put yourself and ourselves in that manager role, and what can you do to make and build that courage with your employees or the staff, right?
Right.
So if I am emotionally intelligent, if I'm better listener, if I'm better communicator, if I manage my emotions, I don't yell at people, I get angry, I don't question them, I don't demean them, I don't challenge them negatively, I don't bring any environment that is not growth conducive. If I'm doing all the bad things, and if I'm not aware, what's happening is that people are having fear,
right,
instead of courage, right? So I'm helping them build fear. So what I have done in my entire career is that I've built relationship with people. I've built relationships with my direct reports, and many organizations, my direct reports were my friends, and so they will come home if they have a problem at work, and they will not hesitate to ask me questions, and that is the level of professional help that as an EI I'm able to accomplish that. And one of the other thing I do at work is I ask feedback.
No.
Yeah, I go to my employees and the staff who work, and I say, "Hey, how I'm doing?" So if I every meeting after the meeting is done, I call one or two people who were in the meeting, and I ask them a question: "How did I do?" So did I do anything that is unclear, or you want me to change something? So continuously having that engagement and being able to willingness to listen will build a much stronger relationship, and that will lead into having the staff and the employees more courage and so on. That's on a professional level. On a personal level, back in 2008, I lost job.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. And then when I lost job and then was laid off, and we were on at that time still on some type of a visa. So you can imagine the amount of stress and anxiety and uncertainty and everything that's comes with the losing a job. And especially you're an immigrant, and then you're living in this country, and you have no idea whether you're going to have a job next week or next 2 weeks or 4 weeks. And that stress, how I manage myself in that situation is extremely important. Right?
Right.
So what really helped me to get through that very stressful situation was being highly emotionally intelligent. Is Whatever has happened has happened. We need to accept the fact as is. There's nothing I can do to change it. But there is something that I can do is to be calm and then not start yelling at family members for every small things, and also trying to blame other people for what happened. Rather, just focus on what I need to do, and what I need to do is to build those connections, build those relationships with people who can help me through the process, right? So my past experience professionally working, and I have built those relationships with people, and then within 2 to 3 weeks I was able to secure another job as an engineering manager in the company, and then I moved on to the process. So even that, for me, in 25 years of living in this country, that was the most stressful moment. Is you're on an immigrant visa, and then you're losing a job, and you have family here, and you brought your wife and son and their future. There's so much going on as part of
Tough situation.
tough situation, and being able to manage that situation, with the higher level of emotional intelligence, we were able to get through that whole situation without any negative impact, a negative process in that. So those are the two ways that I can explain, to and attest to my own success as a professionally, and also as a personal life, how the EI has transformed the situations for a better, rather than going into a very negative type of thing.
That was an amazing story, Jack. Also, that was a very insightful conversation on emotional intelligence. You have officially raised our EI by 3%.
Okay, thank you.